But you see the fact, don't you? Don't agree or disagree. This is a very serious thing. I wish I could talk about meditation, but not now, for this is implied in it. Sir, see the importance of this? The truth is that I am anger, not I am different from anger. That is the truth. That is a fact, isn't it? I am anger, not I separate from anger. When I am jealous, I am jealousy, not I am different from jealousy. I make myself separate from jealousy because I want to do something about it, sustain it, or get rid of it, or rationalize it, whatever it is. But the fact is, the me is jealous, isn't it? Now, how am I to act when I am jealous, when me is jealousy? Before I thought I could act when I separated myself from jealousy. I thought I could do something about it, suppress it, rationalize it, or run away from it. Do various things. I thought I was doing something here. I feel I'm not doing anything. That is, when I say I am jealousy, I feel I can't move. Isn't that right, sir? Look at the two varieties of activity, at the action which takes place when you are different from jealousy, which is the non-ending of jealousy. You may run away from it, you may suppress it, you may transcend it, you may escape, but it will come back. It will be there always, because there is the division between you and jealousy. Now there is a totally different kind of action when there is no division, because in that the observer is the observed. He cannot do anything about it. Before he was able to do something about it, now he feels he is powerless, he is frustrated, he can't do anything. If the observer is the observed, then there is no saying, I can or can't do anything about it. He is what he is. He is jealousy. Now when he is jealousy, what takes place? Go on, sir. Questioner. He understands. Krishnamurti. Do look at it. Take time. When I think I am different from my jealousy, then I feel I could do something about it. And in the doing of it, there is conflict. Here, on the other hand, when I realize the truth of it, that I am jealousy, that I, the observer, am the observed, then what takes place? There is no conflict. The element of conflict ceases. There, conflict exists. Here, conflict does not exist. So conflict is jealousy. Have you got it? There has been complete action. An action in which there has been no effort at all. Therefore, it is complete, total. It will never come back. You said analysis is the deadly tool to thought or consciousness. I perfectly agree with you, and you were about to say that you would develop the argument that there are fragments in the brain or in thought or in consciousness which will be anti-analysis. I should be grateful, sir, if you would continue to develop that part of the argument. Of what, sir? You mentioned the fragments will not constitute any conflict or struggle. They will be anti-analytical. I just explained, sir. There must be fragmentation when there is the observer and the observed as two different things. Sir, look, this is not an argument. There is nothing to develop. I have gone into it fairly thoroughly. We can spend, of course, lots more time, because the more deep you go into it, the more there is. We have broken up our life into many fragments, haven't we? The scientist, the businessman, the artist, the housewife, and so on. What is the basis? What is the root of this fragmentation? The root of this fragmentation is the observer being separate from the observed. He breaks up life. I am a Hindu, and you are a Catholic. I am a communist. You are a bourgeois. So there is this division going on all the time. And I say, why is there this division? What causes this division? Not only in the external economic social structure, but much more deeply. This division is brought about by the me and the not me. The me that wants to be superior, famous, greater, whereas you are different. So the me is the observer. The me is the past, which divides the present as the past and the future. So as long as there's the observer, the experiencer, the thinker, there must be division. Where the observer is the observed, conflict ceases, and therefore jealousy ceases, because jealousy is conflict, isn't it? Is jealousy human nature? Is violence human nature? Is greed human nature? I wanted to ask you another question, if I may. Am I right or wrong, according to what you've been telling us, to say, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he? So we must watch our thoughts and profit from experience. That's just it. As you think what you think, you are. You think you are greater than somebody else, that you are inferior to somebody else, that you are perfect, that you are beautiful or not beautiful, that you are angry, what you think you are. That's simple enough, isn't it? One has to find out whether it is possible to live a life where thought has its rational function, and see where thoughts become irrational. We'll go into that tomorrow. To continue with jealousy, when the jealousy is me and me is the jealousy, the conflict ends, because I know it's the jealousy and it disappears. But when I listen to the noises in the street, and the me is the noise, and the noises are me, how can conflict end when that noise will go on forever? It's fairly simple. Madam, I walk down the street and that noise is terrible. And when I say that noise is me, the noise does not end, it goes on. Isn't that the question? But I don't say the noise is me. I don't say the cloud is me or the tree is me. Why should I say the noise is me? We pointed out just now that if you observe, if you say, I listen to that noise, listen completely, not with resistance, then that noise may go on forever. It does not affect you. The moment you resist, you are separate from the noise. Not identify yourself with the noise. I don't know if you see the difference. The noise goes on. I could cut myself off from it by resisting it, putting a wall between myself and that noise. Then what takes place when I resist something? There is conflict, isn't there? Now, can I listen to that noise without any resistance whatsoever? Yes, if you know that noise might stop in an hour. No, that is still part of your resistance. That means that I can listen to the noise in the street for the rest of my life with the possibility I might become deaf? No, listen, madam, I am saying something entirely different. We are saying, as long as there is resistance, there must be conflict. Whether I resist my wife or my husband, whether I resist the noise of a dog barking or the noise in the street, there must be conflict. Now, how is one to listen to the noise without conflict? Not whether will it go on indefinitely or hoping it will come to an end, but how to listen to the noise without any conflict. That is where we are talking. That is what we are talking about. You can listen to the noise when the mind is completely free of any form of resistance, not only to that noise, but to everything in life, to your husband, to your wife, to your children, to the politician. Therefore, what takes place? Your listening becomes much more acute. You become much more sensitive, and therefore noise is only a part. It isn't the whole world. The very act of listening is more important than the noise. So listening becomes the important thing and not the noise. New York City, April 18th, 1971. Part 2. Relationship. Relationship. You are the world, the separate self, corruption. To see what actually is, what love is not. We have no passion. We have lust. We have pleasure. To understand what death is, love is its own eternity. Questions. The concept of good and bad, sharing pain and fear, how to be free of the past. Krishnamurti. I would like to talk about relationship, about what love is, about human existence in which is involved our daily living, the problems one has, the conflicts, the pleasures, and the fears, and that most extraordinary thing one calls death. I think one has to understand not as a theory, not as a speculative, entertaining concept, but rather as an actual fact that we are the world and the world is us. The world is each one of us. To feel that, to be really committed to it and to nothing else, brings about a feeling of great responsibility and an action that must not be fragmentary but whole. I think we are apt to forget that our society, the culture in which we live, which has conditioned us, is a result of human endeavor, conflict, human misery, and suffering. Each one of us is that culture. The community is each one of us. We are not separate from it. To feel this, not as an intellectual idea or a concept, but to actually feel the reality of this, one has to go into the question of what is relationship, because our life, our existence is based on relationship. Life is a movement in relationship. If we do not understand what is implied in relationship, we inevitably not only isolate ourselves, but create a society in which human beings are divided, not only nationally, religiously, but also in themselves, and therefore they project what they are into the outer world. I do not know if you have gone into this question deeply for yourself to find out if one can live with another in total harmony and complete accord, so that there is no barrier, no division, but a feeling of complete unity. Because relationship means to be related, not in action, not in some project, not in an ideology, but to be totally united in the sense that the division, the fragmentation between individuals, between two human beings, does not exist at all at any level. Unless one finds this relationship, it seems to me when we try to bring order in the world, theoretically or technologically, we are bound to create not only deep divisions between man and man, but also we shall be unable to prevent corruption. Corruption begins in the lack of relationship. I think that is the root of corruption. Relationship, as we know it now, is the continuation of division between individuals. The root meaning of that word individual means indivisible. A human being who is in himself not divided, not fragmented, is really an individual. But most of us are not individuals. We think we are, and therefore there is the opposition of the individual to the community. One has to understand not only the meaning of that word individuality in the dictionary sense, but in that deep sense in which there is no fragmentation at all. That means perfect harmony between the mind, the heart, and the physical organism. Only then an individuality exists. If we examine our present relationship with each other closely, be it intimate or superficial, deep or passing, we see it is fragmented. Wife or husband, boy or girl, each lives in his own ambition and personal and egotistic pursuits in his own cocoon. All these contribute to the factor of bringing about an image in himself, and therefore his relationship with another is through that image. Therefore, there is no actual relationship. I do not know if you are aware of the structure and the nature of this image that one has built around oneself and in oneself. Each person is doing this all the time, and how can there be a relationship with another if there is that personal drive, envy, competition, greed, and all the rest of those things which are sustained and exaggerated in modern society? How can there be a relationship with another if each one of us is pursuing his own personal achievement, his own personal success? I do not know if one is at all aware of this. We are so conditioned that we accept it as the norm, as the pattern of life, that each one must pursue his own particular idiosyncrasy or tendency, and yet try to establish a relationship with another in spite of this. Isn't that what we are all doing? You may be married and go to the office or to the factory. Whatever you are doing during the whole of the day, you pursue that, and your wife is in her house with her own troubles, with her own vanities, with all that happens. Where is the relationship between those two human beings? Is it in bed? in sex? Is a relationship so superficial, so limited, so circumscribed, not in itself corruption? One may ask, how then are you to live if you do not go to the office, pursue your own particular ambition, your own desire to achieve and to attain? If one does not do any of this, what is one to do? I think that is a wrong question altogether, don't you? Because we are concerned, we are not in bringing about a radical change in the whole structure of the mind. The crisis is not in the outer world, but in consciousness itself. And until we understand this crisis, not superficially, not according to some philosopher, but actually deeply understand it for ourselves by looking into it and examining it, we shall not be able to bring about a change. We are concerned with psychological revolution, and this revolution can only take place when there is the right kind of relationship between human beings. How is such a relationship to be brought about? The problem is clear, isn't it? Please share this problem with me, will you? It's your problem, not my problem. It's your life, not my life. It's your sorrow, your trouble, your anxiety, your guilt. This battle is one's life. If you listen merely to a description, then you will find that you are only swimming on the surface and not resolving any problem at all. It is actually your problem, and the speaker is merely describing it, knowing that the description is not the described. Let us share this problem together, which is, how can human beings, you and I, find a right relationship in all this turmoil, hatred, destruction, pollution, and among these terrible things which are going on in the world? To find that out, it seems to me one must examine what has taken place, see what actually is. Now, what we should like to think it should be, or not what we like to think it should be, or to try to change our relationship to a future concept, but actually observe what it is now. And observing the fact, the truth, the actuality of it, there's a possibility of changing it. As we said the other day, when there is a possibility, then there is great energy. What dissipates energy is the idea that it is not possible to change. So we must look at our relationship as it is actually now, every day. And in observing what it is, we shall discover how to bring about a change in that actuality. So we are describing what it actually is, which is, each one lives in his own world, in his world of ambition, greed, fear, the desire to succeed, and all the rest of it. You know what is going on. If I am married, I have responsibilities, children, and all the rest of it. I go to the office or some place of work, and we meet each other, husband and wife, boy and a girl, in bed, and that's what we call love. Leading separate lives, isolated, building a wall of resistance round ourselves, pursuing a self-centered activity. Each one is seeking security psychologically. Each one is depending on the other for comfort, for pleasure, for companionship, because each one is so deeply lonely. Each demands to be loved, to be cherished. Each one is trying to dominate the other. You can see this for yourself. If you observe yourself, is there any kind of relationship at all? There is no relationship between two human beings, though they may have children, a house. Actually, they are not related. If they have a common project, that project sustains them, holds them together, but that's not relationship. Realizing all this, one sees that if there is no relationship between two human beings, then corruption begins. Not in the outward structure of society and the outer phenomenon of pollution, but inner pollution, corruption. Destruction begins when human beings have actually no relationship at all, as you haven't. You may hold the hand of another, kiss each other, sleep together, but actually, when you observe very closely, is there any relationship at all? To be related means not to be dependent on each other, not to escape from your loneliness through another, not to try to find comfort, companionship through another. When you see comfort through another, are dependent and all the rest of it, can there be any kind of relationship? Or are you then using each other? We are not being cynical, but actually observing what is. That is not cynicism. So try to find out what it actually means to be related to another. One must understand this question of loneliness because most of us are terribly lonely. The older we grow, the more lonely we become, especially in this country. Have you noticed the old people, what they are like? Have you noticed their escapes, their amusements? They have worked all their lives and they want to escape into some kind of entertainment.